It is not unusual for us to see as caregivers that mom may tell one daughter something and another daughter totally something different.
I think it's very human too, even with all your years of expertise and being in the industry, to doubt yourself,
Oh, yeah.
question yourself.
It ends up being something in that family's life that happened 30 or 40
An
years ago
underlying
that
situation.
they've never dealt with. And all of a sudden, this chaotic situation has brought it all to surface again.
Again, you just nailed it without even knowing it, but I have written down here, instead of asking what do we want, ask what does mom need now?
Sure did.
That's exactly right. To go get some
Come get some ice cream, yeah. And it's so exciting to be a part of.
Amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest things I think we've learned.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the studio. Welcome back to the show. Thank you for joining us today. We're excited to have you. You know the drill. Go grab your favorite cup of coffee, pull up your comfiest chair, and join us right here on Around the Table with Vickie. I'm your co-host, Chris Runk, and across the table from me, as always, we call her Queen V. She's my mother, your host, Vickie Runk.
Hello, everybody.
And man, Mom, it's good to be back in the studio. We're happy to bring another show to our listeners. Just a great day.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some things that may be a little uncomfortable, but I think it's some things that
Absolutely.
people want to talk about. So let's do that.
That's what we're all about, bringing the information to the listeners. And today's topic, we're going to discuss maybe some, like you said, some uncomfortable topics of sibling disagreements, care decisions, and navigating family conflict.
Oh,
with
should
grace.
be exciting.
And in our field, if you don't know, it's going to be in the senior living field.
That's right.
So, Mom, I know you have some talking points
Yeah, we
you
have.
want to start off with.
To my left here is Mary Beth Wilbun. She is my regional director. She and I work super close together. She's over all the facilities, in and out, taking care of nursing needs. She is a nurse. She's a licensed assisted living administrator, and she's also a proctor. So she does some training for our staff that are learning to be new administrators, and she oversees our daytime program. And she has been with us. We were talking today, close to 13, 14 years. Yeah, we've had her on before. It's always good to get her back on here when we're kicking off topics because she is in the field and she's in the facilities every day. And most of the time, if there are issues, Mary Beth's going to call me and we're going to decide together how we're going to take care of a family situation, if we can take care of it at all. And so some things we really want to talk about today
Well, Mary Beth is your right hand.
She is.
So
Yeah.
welcome to the show, Mary Beth.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Happy to be
Yeah.
here.
Some things we really want to bring to people's attention today is, as we go through these talking points, is that I've never met a family that did not love their parents so intentionally. But that didn't mean that they didn't disagree as a family unit. They lovingly disagreed, and sometimes not so lovingly, and we've kind of been put in the middle of that at times. I will say when it comes to placement of parents inside a care facility, it is always easier for us on the receiving end for you all to get your differences kind of worked out before you come in. And so knowing that we are going to assume you love your parents, and I've never met anybody that didn't, but they still disagreed. Conflict doesn't mean that you don't care. It just means that you're having some conflict. And disagreements often come from different relationship, how far away you live. Maybe there's one sibling that lives right here in town, and of course, she or he is going to claim to be the head of everything, right? Because they're in and out of the facility all the time. And then there's those that live quite a bit of a distance and has to depend on FaceTime, Zoom calls, just being able to watch from afar. And that can make that family member feel not important. It can make them feel not seen, not heard, and they never get validated. So that's some of the issues that families have to work out amongst themselves. It's the role that they're going to play. Hey, I'm going to take care of mom every day. I'm going to go in. I'm going to make sure she's got clothes that are clean and if she needs some snacks from the grocery store, but you're going to take care of the finances from afar so that I don't have to worry about who's paying her bills, if they're paid on time. I'm going to let you take care of all the legalities, but I'm going to do all the footwork with mom every day. And then when I'm in there, we're gonna FaceTime you and we're gonna talk together so that you can keep that close family bond and realize that there really are no bad intentions. And we're going to assume that because in some situations we can say there probably has been. But those are all things that we would prefer that a family member works out amongst themselves as a unit before they get to us. Right, Mary Beth?
Absolutely.
So what are some
Absolutely.
things that you want to, like from your, your perspective, when does it tend to be family disagreements versus neglect? How do you differentiate between the two?
I would say when mom or dad may be experiencing a change in their current level of cognition, comprehension, or their physical, they have more limitations now, whether at home or with us, than they've had previously. And siblings tend to perceive things differently, especially if there's someone that isn't local that doesn't see mom every day versus a daughter that sees mom just about every day. The perception is different.
Right.
And this sibling that's closer, that sees mom regularly, tends to digest information differently and have an easier time than someone that maybe sees mom every 6 months, every 3 months, or if there's a major change, it's harder to digest and process the information.
That particular person that's here in town is going to have a sense of urgency, whereas the sibling that lives away is going to say, you're overreacting.
Yes.
Mom will get better. You just got to give her a few more days. In some situations, giving her a few more days could be a life and death situation. And in
correct.
memory care, it could be just crucial that time needs to be on your side.
Correct.
And so, standing up and being the stronger sibling to say, no, this is what we're going to do. We'll deal with our battles after I'm sure mom's safe, is something that, there has to be a leader in the family group. There has
Absolutely.
to be. There can't be everybody saying, well, whatever she says or whatever he says.
Right,
We
right.
have to have a responsible party that we can go to and bounce some things off that are going to work for us and things that are going to be barriers to whether we can give the right kind of communication with that family.
Absolutely.
I also think it
Absolutely.
sounds like you're saying there could be different interpretations of that decline with that resident. So somebody who's in the building every day and they're visiting every day, they may see that mom or dad is declining or having issues a lot faster than somebody who may come in and visit once a month, once
Yes.
every 6 months, and mom and dad's able to perform for them during their time that they're here. And they're going to be like,
Differently.
there's nothing wrong with mom and dad. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
That doesn't happen, does it, Mary Beth?
Oh, it indeed happens. And you have the different layers of denial that kick off of that and the waiting period. Let's buy a little bit of time. Let's talk about it when, like Vickie said, there's not always time to talk about it. You have to act pretty fast for the best interest of the resident to keep them safe.
And so many times, if I had a nickel for every time I've heard a family say, but we promised mom.
Yes.
And then you have the guilt that kicked in. And we talked about that in a previous show that, so many daughters and sons live with the guilt of, I promised mom she would never have to go to a home. And what we encourage people here on the show to do is act well before you have to say, I promise mom. Get your mother to be part of the solution for aging. Get her to be a part of tours and making conscious decisions.
Absolutely.
That if you find that I'm not able to make a decision on my own one day and I need to be in a safer place, that I have 3 meals a day and I've got 24-hour around the clock, concierge services, and that I have girls down the hall that are going to check on me. I have friendships. I have, camaraderie with other residents my age. This is the place I would like to go. And I've encouraged that show after show. Don't just dismiss the fact that you may never get to this point. I can promise you 100% you will get to this day.
Absolutely.
And if you are
Absolutely.
prepared and you've prepared your parents or parent for these moments and these discussions, you don't have to say, but I promised mom I would never put her in a home.
And I have a family situation very much going through that now with an aunt who has one daughter, and she lives several states away from us. And we're in the early phases. We actually just had a family meeting on Sunday. We're seeing subtle changes, little things. She's still at home. So we kind of sat down and tried to map out best what we needed to do. And that was starting with, well, what are mom's current wishes? Let's talk about advance directives. Let's talk about power of attorney. You're not local. Let's talk about bill pay. Who's going to help dad with these things now? Let's slowly implement these changes so it's not a shocker. Let's talk to mom about it while we're doing it and ask her, well, how do you want this handled? Let's do it now, knowing that one day we'll have to make a swifter move, and we need to be prepared for that.
I think that those are the whole families that we see. They're whole. And then the ones
Well,
that
those
don't prepare are broken.
that goes back to a great show that we did a few months ago with Rich Gilman, and where we talked about you brought up advanced directive POAs and those families that prepare for this time and don't. That'll never happen to me. It absolutely, you can't stop time. It absolutely will happen.
Oh, yes.
And being prepared and being ready for those moments, because it can happen fast. Like you said, those are the families that are whole. They come in with a plan. There's no disagreements. A lot of times that family member that needs placement is the one that worked through that plan. And the kids know exactly their role that they play. And I do think that makes a big difference.
It's all about the perspective. And when you can have a family as a family unit that goes and puts perspective on things, this is how I see it now. But what if it's totally different in a few months? Then your perspective has to change. We talk about pivoting and changing our perspective, that mom used to be able to do this on her own. The fact of the matter is she just had a fall. She's gone through therapy, and I don't think she'll ever be able to do that alone again. So we have to have a different perspective. And a lot of what we do in our communities as administrators, we just had a show with two of our administrators on. We are there to educate and counsel the families as much as we are to care for the individuals that they brought to us. And we create moments, whether it's sitting in an administrator's office and discussing, that we interject just little bits of information that's going to help them get through those times.
And it can be such an emotional thing. So even having, those job roles defined in the family where a child may be more concerned with the financial concerns, and the emotional toll of, I just can't worry with that. I just need to be worried about mom and dad right now and be there for their care and walk them through this journey. And then having another person in the family that worries about the financial piece. Is that beneficial?
That is beneficial. Families tend to work better as a team and have assigned duties. It's less overwhelming. It doesn't put so much on the one particular child. It's let's make a group effort out of it, and then everyone is fulfilled in at the end of the day and doing what's best for mom or dad.
I think there's a little funny here, and we like to put a little funny into some of our shows that are heavy. It is not unusual for us to see as caregivers that mom may tell one daughter something and another daughter totally something different. And then you create this triangular relationship that's actually documented about a relationship between mom and her daughters. She knows she's got one that she can control to the max. And then she knows she's got that other one that's going to make her do some high stepping every day. So you have to get together as siblings and talk outside of mom sometimes, because mom will have had a little bit of manipulation that she's been used to doing during the years. So I think it's real important. I've seen families actually. You asked me about this, Christopher, before we aired. I have seen families that had some disagreement, that when they talked outside of mom and they read each other's text messages, they started to bond together and create a team, a care team for mom. And that's really what we're after. That we can, get the shenanigans out of the way and do what's best for her. Because I think if you're talking to a family, ultimately, most all of them want the best for mom.
Absolutely.
And so how do we reach that goal?
Well, that was one thing I was going to bring up. We're talking about having family disagreements, but if we're having a ton of disagreements, let's see if we can find common ground to what we can agree on and find a grounding question and then work from there, such as what you just brought. Let's all agree on what's best for mom. What would mom want in this situation? Let's clarify that resident's wishes, right?
Yeah, and that takes education well before we get to that moment. Those are the best. That's the best handled. But sometimes we get handed a situation where we as staff have to really diffuse, deflect, reflect, and then solve. And it takes up the majority of our time sometimes, and especially if you have 3 or 4 families doing it at the same time in our company.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll bring up another common, question that poses in the family that often is disagreed on, especially when you got folks that are from out of town, or then somebody that lives next door to mom and dad, and that is, oh, she's fine at home. There's no need to take her away from home. That's where she wants to be at. That's her home. She needs to stay there. Versus the reality of the other family member maybe saying, I can promise you she's not safe there anymore, and she does need placement.
If
How do
there's
you
any-
navigate?
Yes, if there's any question that she's not safe at home, likely she's not. And it's good to then step back and regroup on an alternative plan that's going to work best for her at that time.
And after 33 years of doing this, counseling thousands of families, I always suggest that we take it in baby steps. And I always suggest that if placement is really what's going to be best for her, and I've said on this show many times, we can do care at home. We can't, but there's agencies out there that we can put you in touch with that can do care at home. Let's try that. You want to try it? Let's try it. I got some word this week from some friends that's not working out so well because some of the people are not showing up for work, and then it falls right back on that family, and they've been working all day, and now they got to sit up all night with mom. Then they got to get up again and try to go to work. And so when those staff members don't come in, the one thing about senior living communities is we're open 24 hours a day. Even if the sitter doesn't come in, they're not in danger because we got staff still going to take care of them. Sometimes sitters are just a commodity, just a personal care aide that's just going to sit and play games or play Monopoly, do the word cross with them or whatever, just to have somebody in the room with them. But when it comes to safety, that's when you have to put your foot down and say, we got to do what's best. And so, whenever you're looking at placement, you don't have to tell your mom or dad that this is forever. I really strongly suggest you don't do that.
Indeed.
I think we say this is what the doctor would like for you to do for a month. I'm going to sign a contract for a month, and we're going to see how you do. We're going to get you involved in therapy. We're going to get you involved in activities. And in 30 days, we as a family,
We'll reassess.
are going to reassess. Because that way, as a son or a daughter, you're not putting them in the car and looking in the rearview mirror and so emotional about leaving that home behind that she may never come back to. You're carrying on a whole new set of emotions that may definitely be unnecessary for that moment. Let's save that for later. Let's take care of what's in front of us right now.
Let's focus on the right now. I think it's important to be open-minded, as valuable as home health agencies and private duty companions are. In most cases, based on experience, that is a temporary Band-Aid.
Yeah.
In the moment now, to buy a little bit of time to plan for a plan that's more sustainable.
Yeah, permanent. Yeah.
I also find it, when you're with families, to always make sure that a lot of times, if you pick up that family member saying, I never, like mom would never want this, and always, those big generalized words, those are red flags. So you got, inevitably, there's always typically one family member that feels like they're doing the most for mom, and they're getting extremely burnt out. And then there's another family member that has some animosity because the one that's doing the most feels like the other brother or sister's not doing enough. Can you coach how to coach through some of those dynamics?
I think we just go back to figuring out who's going to carry the ball, who's going to throw the ball, and who's going to run it down for a touchdown. I don't even like football, but that was a good analogy. Which family member is going to do the heavy hitting? Who's going to be the primary responsible party? And whoever that is, sometimes mom can tell you who that's going to be. Well, how great is it when she does? What she doesn't understand is when she's setting that up, she's creating it to where the team works really well. I'm going to carry the ball. I'm going to throw the ball. I'm going to run it down for a touchdown. When, as parents, our senior parents can actually set that up in writing or going to the lawyers or having a family discussion. This is what I want you to do. This is what I want you to do. And then you're really good at finances, so I want you to do that. When that can all be written down and you can solidify a plan, then it works better. If we're going to constantly come into mom's room and find something to complain about, find reasons why she shouldn't be there, inevitably that facility is going to tell you, we can't take care of mom. There's too much fighting. There's too much, confusion. We can't seem to make a connection with you for us to give the care. So we're going to need for you to find an alternative. And for those of you that don't know, every facility has the right to give a 30-day notice if it's nobody in danger. If somebody's endangering themselves or others, it's only a 14-day notice that's required. So whenever you think in your mind, they can't just kick me out, they can.
Absolutely.
Facilities have the right to do that because we want workable families. We want dynamics that we feel like we can touch, educate, and eventually fix the broken pieces.
Working together.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of have written down here on my sheet of paper, my notes, Mom, too, and you just said it so gracefully. Name the roles of those family members out loud.
Mm-hmm.
When you acknowledge that roles are named, resentment loses its power.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right.
And,
Yeah.
and so you would name who's that daily caregiver, who handles the finances, who lives far away and is unable to help at all, who's the emotional closet that mom and dad can lean on.
Mhm.
So I think you were spot on that.
And I think it's really important for listeners and caregivers, whether you're a parent in the situation, you're listening to me on how you can plan for your life coming up, or you're the child in the family, the adult children that's going to carry all of this. It's really important that you educate yourself on all of this and that you give yourself grace to learn to grieve through the process. Because eventually what we really are inevitably doing is we're grieving the life that mom and dad once had and one that they're going to now. How do we help them celebrate the changes as they age? I love the word celebrate because instead of carrying the heavy, meaning of, I might not be able to do this with mom anymore. I might not be able to do that. How can we celebrate where she is right now and help her feel vital and important and help this family become a unit that is always there for her because she's been there for you?
100%. You just nailed it without even knowing it, but I have written down here, instead of asking, what do we want? Ask, what does mom need now? Not 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I could see, like, if I'm looking at you, you would be very typical of not wanting things to change.
Correct.
You're gonna want to. You grieve those moments because none of us want our lives to change. Change is not easy, and I know even with my parents, there's times to where I know in my mind, I need to relish these moments because in another year it could be different. And you want to celebrate the years that God's given you together. So you have to be intentional with your time as adult children too. You have to carve out those moments to where when you do start going down this road, you don't feel guilty because
Yes.
you've done everything you can to get them to this moment.
I think it's very human too, even with all your years of expertise and being in the industry, to doubt yourself,
Oh, yeah.
question yourself.
Mhm.
Am I making the right decision? Is this what's best for mom or dad? It's very easy to do that and doubt yourself along the
Mhm.
way.
And I've always used the analogy that I don't believe as a faith-based person that God puts perfect situations full of chaos. And so if he has meant for you to be where you are, he will create peace. And we don't have to battle with the chaos. So if there are chaotic moments, we need to see what is wrong here. How can we usher in some peaceful moments for mom or dad or the entire family? And it may have to start with a prayer or turning to your faith or a higher power. I've seen families have to get counseling over situations like this. Inevitably, it ends up not being the part of the journey. Here we are at the end. It ends up being something in that family's life that happened 30 or 40 years
An
ago
underlying situation.
that they've never dealt with. And all of a sudden, this chaotic situation has brought it all to surface again.
Well, I have another part of my section says to stop relitigating the past.
Mhm.
Old grievances will surface. This moment is about care, not childhood scorekeeping.
That's
Mhm.
right. That's right. So, see, you can't remind your brother what he did. Yeah.
I would never do that.
Yeah. I also think that faith becomes so important. So I have recently, researched what are our churches doing for our seniors? What kind of programs do they have? Not only what do they have for our seniors, what kind of small groups or what kind of groups can we develop or educate our pastors on how to minister to those adult children that are dealing with these kinds of situations, with grief, with loss of independence, maybe not a death, because we're still living in those situations, loss of independence, the loss of, I can't go to mom and dad's and have Sunday lunch anymore. And so I'm going to sit here in this chair and feel sorry for myself. So how can, pastors and churches start educating themselves on how vitally important it is to minister at this stage? Because I think sometimes our churches may have forgotten that.
Um, Sometimes I think when all else is lost, you got to bring in a third party to kind of navigate and get some other opinions, get some professional opinions. And you need a translator. And that's when you can start looking to the help of a senior living administrator, physicians, care coordinators, or social workers.
As our ombudsman, I just got through talking about that on the show before. Our communities have ombudsmen and adult protective service agents that you can call through the Department of Social Services. You can look it up online. It's very easy to find. And if you need a third party to sit down and say what's best for mom, and they, totally leave the family dynamics out of it, they can make a professional opinion to you as a family on what they feel like is best for mom and dad. They're trained to do that. They've gone through educational process to know looking out for seniors and what's best for them.
Mary Beth, you deal with a lot of families every single day, day in, day out. What are just how beautiful is the moment whenever the total family is on board, everybody's functioning under one goal, which is not only supporting mom, but supporting the care team there at the facility. Just talk through how much easier and how much that lifts the spirit of that resident.
Oh, incredibly. I think it's so important from the care the residents receiving, tying that communication together, how happy they are, family satisfaction and seeing how well cared for mom is. She's in a safe place. She's happy. She's adjusting well. And I know as a caregiver, at the end of the day and end of that shift, you leave feeling so warm and fuzzy because you've achieved such a huge challenge and everyone is on the same page and everyone is content. And is it ideal? No. Did mom want to stay in her home forever? Yes. But once you look back and it's like one of those moments where it's like, oh, yes, you're relieved and you're happy. And you're so happy that the resident and the family's happy and everyone is clicking and connecting on the same page.
And for those families that don't live in town and can't communicate with the residents on a regular basis, FaceTime, being here in real life, there is FaceTime, and our activities directors put us right in front of those people that are in California or in New Jersey or whatever, and you can actually see everything that mom and dad are doing. And we know that if it's important to that family, then we just give their number to the activities director, and she can even go live and do some things that I just actually watched a live from Liberty Ridge from some man that was playing the violin. So it's real time. You can look it up and see it. And I think that's so important, just to realize that not everybody can live in the same town with mom. But there is no greater joy that I've seen on a mom's face than to know that all their children are getting along and all on the same team. There's some love there.
There's some power to sow. Instead of sowing discord, you're sowing positivity. Mom, we actually did have one listener write into the website, which anybody can do, VickieTalk.com, in preparation for this show. And she wanted to know, what would you do when one sibling refuses to participate but criticizes every decision that is made?
I would create a team without that sibling. And again, you're doing that in the betterment of mom. And then when the sibling sees that she's not part of that team anymore because there's so much discord and what's best for mom is peace, not chaos, then we would just pray that they find a way to make it, happen to where she gets re-included again. Sometimes you have to put boundaries up. Sometimes the boundaries will be a part of maybe the family not being all together at one time. Maybe they do separate visits, and that's something that Mary Beth and I are big advocates of. If the whole family can't come together for mom, then we do 2 separate visits, and that way she still gets in to be a part with mom's life. But the team effect, she'll have to learn when she wants to join that team.
Well, what a wonderful discussion we've had today. I do want to leave everybody with some key takeaways from the discussion. Disagreement is common and survivable. Care decisions don't have to be unanimous to be loving. Grace means listening and acting when needed. And professional guidance isn't giving up, it's stepping up.
That's right.
Amen.
Well said.
So, Mary Beth, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.
Had a wonderful discussion. Mom, it wouldn't be the end of the show without a quote. So I'll let you leave it with a good quote.
Well, so it's been such a full time for me today to be able to come straight to people and talk about things that are hard. But it's also great to know that we here at Runkin Pratt have the answers. And we've been doing this for 33 years. We're family owned and operated. We're right here in your backyard. And we'd love to be honored enough to take care of your loved ones and do it with you as a team. To all the residents at our care communities that watch this every week, I appreciate you. I love to hear from you, so write to us and let us know what you want us to discuss right here around the table. But here we go. Strength comes from togetherness, differences can create beauty, and shared goals require working as one. So take all that to heart, do a little better, do it bigger, and do it for your mom. And so until next time, I'm Vickie, and we're all right here around the table for you.